are 19 climate camps around the world.
And it's the first time that it's actually happened in Aotearoa.
Basically the purpose is to gather people together. Lots of excited, energised people.
With similar ideas, similar goals, who want to build a mass movement against climate change.
Lots of awesome workshops and people coming together giving their input.
Climate Camp is an example of sustainable living. We use minimal energy created by either solar or wind.
We set up composting toilets, grey water systems, and anyone can do these things themselves at home as well.
The really liberating thing about being involved in this process here is that the decision making is done by consensus.
Which means that if you come to camp, you'll actually be making the decisions along with everybody else.
And that's for a number of reasons, to empower people, but to also let everyone's voices be heard.
It's participatory, so whoever comes along helps out with cooking or workshops, cleaning the loos, pitching tents.
It's a great place to bring your whole family, and there'll be activities for kids. The camp has a festival vibe, but instead of just coming and consuming what it has to offer you, you actually become a part of it.
There's a lot to learn about direct action, and there's always more to learn. We don't claim to be experts, and we also just well recognise that there is a lot of skills and a lot of experience here in the room as well.
Education is a big part of Climate Camp. People come together to upskill each other, to share ideas and discuss issues.
There'll be free workshops running for the duration of the camp. The topics ranging from how to build a bike-powered blender, designing and building composting toilets, or direct action training.
And there's also a workshop space available for anyone coming to the camp who wants to hold a workshop themselves.
What we believe is that ordinary people have everything we need to educate each other.
So the international climate justice movement, it's pretty much been like a global diffuse movement, like a social justice movement on climate change that's growing really fast at the moment. Lots of different organisations that has come about in response to all these really terrible, dangerous solutions that are being proposed, like carbon trading and carbon capture and storage and nuclear power instead of changing over to renewable or decentralised energy. As the negotiations have become more of a really watered down process and a forum whereby the most powerful countries and companies have more of a voice in there than anybody else, and that's the main reason really why it hasn't worked. We've had no reduction in emissions whatsoever, and from what's on the table at the moment for Copenhagen, not only are the proposals on the table really convenient for business and people who want to actually make money out of this problem, they're not going to solve climate change. They're not capable of it at all. They would cause more harm than good. Big business have basically taken over the debate and squeezed all equitable solutions off the table in favour of free market solutions. It's turned into a big market fest. Carbon trading is pretty much just a scam that has infiltrated the whole and taken over the whole process.
Really, a movement needs an agency for change. You just can't change this system through small pickets or writing letters to MPs or stuff. You need power.
When you've used the submission process, the legislative process, you've asked really nicely and you still haven't got the answer that you're looking for, then often the only avenue left is to go out and to take direct action.
It's really empowering to actually take something into your own hands like that. You can write heaps of letters and write to your newspaper and lobby MPs and stuff like that, but at the end of the day that can just be really frustrating because it doesn't always make much of a difference. So actually just meeting with a group of people and deciding together to take action is really, really empowering.
Direct action is when you go out and you're starting or stopping the thing that you take an issue with. For example, stopping a coal train because you take an issue with coal mining.
Direct action is most effective when it happens as part of a wider campaign, just to really make the point really clear about what the issue is and who are the bad guys.
There's heaps of other ways of taking action and getting your message out there and campaigning, and they're all really important. Things like
public education and mass mobilisation and awareness raising.
It works on different levels. Like on one level you're actually physically stopping, but of course you can't keep that up forever, so that's not really the kind of the total end result that we're looking for. It also gets a lot of media attention. In the UK, then there was heaps of the national newspapers covered the story of the climate camp.
Democracy is so much more than voting once every 3 years, and it's more than filling in a submission and asking someone else to make a decision about that. It needs to be more participatory.
Actually just taking action yourself rather than asking someone to take action on your behalf.
This is a really cool quote from Aotearoa from one of her essays in her book called The Ordinary Person's Guide to Empire. Any government's condemnation of terrorism is only credible if it shows itself to be responsive to persistent, reasonable, closely argued, non-violent dissent. And yet what's happening is just the opposite. The world over, non-violent resistance movements are being crushed and broken. If we do not respect and honour them, by default we privilege those who turn to violent means. And I think that's really important, and part of the objectives of Climate Camp is to radicalise and normalise direct action.
Don't bank on anything huge happening in Copenhagen. Go out and do it yourself, because there's been 20 years of talking, and if we had have gotten out there and done it ourselves 20 years ago, we would have done a much better job than any governments or any politicians. They're incapable of doing it because they're tied into economic systems that don't work and perpetuate things like climate change. So if we don't get to the bottom of that, we won't get anywhere. That's what we've got to do with climate camp.
I think in order to build a mass broad movement, we need to come out of our respective ghettos. So a lot of us, be us anarchists or environmentalists or socialists, you know, we tend to see our own little group and our own little sector of society that we try to mobilise. But really, if we're approaching a tipping point where we've only 15 or 20 years left to smash capitalism or save the planet, whatever you want to call it, then we're going to need to get out of those ghettos, and we're going to need to involve ordinary people who are not hippies or bearded Irish revolutionaries.
The climate camp isn't actually, well, it is creating a movement to address some of the root causes, but it's acting as a catalyst for other things and for people to form affinity groups or to take action and just stand up for what they believe in.